with only 70% of what we get in.
In the U.S., most recycled beverage containers are sent to China. They're melted down and turned into polyester materials and used to make anything from t-shirts to carpet to teddy bear stuffing. But often, those items ultimately end up in a landfill. Carbon Light's goal is to keep a bottle's cycle of life going. It's known as closed-loop recycling, or bottle-to-bottle. So I would imagine that one of the huge advantages of this kind of recycling is that if you're getting bottles from Southern California, you're recycling them here in Southern California, and then they're
using
being
it in
made
California.
into new bottles in Southern California.
Exactly.
So it keeps it all very local.
Exactly.
California is far and away head and shoulders above the rest of the country.
Susan Collins has been studying the environmental impacts of plastic for more than 20 years. She says California's recycling success is because we require deposits, and the law is statewide.
The states that have the programs that cover the whole state, where they make a decision like, our entire state will adopt a container deposit law. Then boom, within a couple of years, they see recycling rates in the 80% range.
So after the bottles have been separated by color, this is the final check before they're ground up into little bits about the size of cornflakes.
This is the wash flake that comes out after all that washing and going through the system. This is your wash flake.
It's still warm.
Yes,
Like it's fresh out of the dishwasher.
It is out of a dishwasher. A sophisticated dishwasher. We process about 10 to 11,000 pounds of this an hour.
10 to 11,000 pounds of plastic bits every single hour.
An hour.
As much as they recycle here, it's still less than 1% of the 245 billion beverage containers Americans use every year. And while some of those containers are recycled as well, they rarely turn back into bottles. Carbon Light hopes to change that, because when plastic bottles turn back into plastic bottles, that means less new material is being sourced.
Fulfilling the promise of recycling is making a product that can be used to replace virgin materials. Because when you do that, you save all of the greenhouse gases, all of the production of toxics, all of the energy that went into getting those virgin materials out of the ground in the first place.
And the final step, sterilization.
To make a food-grade material to take volatiles out of any volatiles that are left in the material will be taken out and then melted and made into pellets to be shipped to the customer.
So essentially, you have to sterilize all of this plastic to make sure it's food safe.
Exactly.
So that is really hot plastic.
That's
right?
very hot plastic. You don't want to touch that.
So what does all of this ultimately produce? These tiny little pellets, enough to fill giant silos like these before being shipped off to bottle makers. So when a crushed plastic bottle enters Carbon Light, it looks a little something like this, before ultimately ending up as the finished product. These are food-grade plastic pellets, which will then be sent off to bottlers to create new bottles. It could be a 50% recyclable material bottle like this, or a bottle like this that's made from 100% recyclable plastic. So with this type of closed-loop recycling, that means these bottles can be reused literally an infinite number of times, which means fewer bottles end up in the oceans, in the streets, or in the landfill. So is there really such a thing as eternal life for plastic bottles? Well, for now, this place is probably as close as it gets. I'm Derek Shore for SoCal Connected.